Welcome to the 139th broadcast of the T-Row Show. It's your host, Keith. We got John with me.
Good morning, folks.
Alrighty. And we got some stuff that we need to talk about today, introduce you to, and what the meanings are behind it before more and more rumors get started. All right. We were talking about on the Monday assembly. We have an assembly. It's a National Assembly every Monday. It's been convening for, 9 years? 10 years now?
9 years,
Yeah.
a little over.
Yeah, they got, we were talking about what happened with the birth certificate and why it was there. And we said, well, what's going on here is this, that people used to put their names in the Bible when they were born. And that was their lineage. That's how they did it. I mean, our family lineage was found all the way back in 427, but most of them were found in Bibles way back when. Most of the family names and everything were all found in Bibles, not a census. Okay, that came out later. And what that was, it was just the family lineage. Now, that was literally the first lien on the family. It says Bible used to hold it was the first lien holder. So Yahweh through Yahushua, God through Jesus, in translation, was the first lien holder on your family, and therefore you weren't able to be placed in or claimed by any monarch, and you weren't able to be placed in any form of debt type deal, because it all belonged to him, and that was a recognition of that. Well, when they stopped doing that, and they started issuing birth certificates, that was the opening hole to allow what they call satanic forces in to start getting liens on your person. And we were just talking about that on the assembly. And I said, we were talking is where the Pope converted the lien to where he was the beneficiary of that lien, and therefore began to serve satanic forces with the adrenochrome and sacrifice of children and all this other kind of stuff. And this is well documented in the last couple of last 10 years or so, especially with all of the child rape and all that that was discovered. Now they just stopped with the bones. There were bones found in the bottom, and they just ordered the investigation to be stopped and all that. So somebody's hiding something, right? So we were saying, I said, if he was the first, if Yahweh was the first lien holder, I said, why can't we do this? I said, why don't we just put a lien on our person? And we have a very good way of doing that. I mean, nobody can actually, there's nothing wrong with liening your own person. And then you can grant that lien back to the Most High to reverse the problem. That was what we were talking about. Well, somehow that got converted into someone was talking to somebody who talked to somebody else, and somehow that conversation was converted into F. Keith for what, 2 days?
3 days.
3 days on Facebook, because somehow we were trying to claim your social security numbers. I don't know how that turned out. I mean, I don't get that. But somehow it got converted into that we were wanting your social security numbers again. And then it was F. Keith from the beginning of the paragraph to the end of the paragraph. And the assessment on the F. Keiths, paragraphs, were every problem they were having, they were just blaming me. No matter what was happening, somehow it was my fault. But that's been going on since 2006. I've noticed that. I don't even have to be in the same country or the same state or even the same county, and it's somehow my fault. No matter what happens, it's always my fault. That's always been I don't know, it's magical to me. And all I've been doing is going on a trail. Okay, I've been led in a certain direction, and I've been sharing my findings. And that's basically all I've been doing the whole time since 2006. Sharing my findings, sharing my the revelations that have been coming to me, and understanding this better and better and better, and sharing that with everybody else. Basically, all I'm doing is sharing my own path with everyone else. That's all I've been doing from the beginning, since I started back in 1992. So for for some reason, they seem to think that we're, uh, one guy started yelling out saying that, well, Keith's not a Messiah. And nobody ever claimed being Messiah. I'm just going on a path, and I'm just sharing my knowledge with people, sharing my experiences with others. That's it. That's all I've been doing. You've noticed that, haven't you, John?
Yes, right. All we've been doing is collecting evidence to put in the file. And
Yeah.
never share the file with everybody.
Yeah, that's all I've been doing. And man, it turns into all kinds of weird stuff. And I was thinking, man, there's really some really sick ass people out there, or they're extremely rude. Okay. Then that was the funny part, because that whole F Key thing for 2 days it wound up, we were getting, we got five more people subscribing to YouTube, and I don't know how many resident declarations. So the more the F Keith, he's this, he's that, blah blah, he's full of fraud. They come over, figure out we're not, and then start, hey, I'm going to join. So they're doing nothing but helping from the beginning. So thanks, guys, appreciate that. Just want everybody to know that. So we were we were going to put the lien on the person, and that would be the person legal description. That would be the name, could be the address, and social security number, date of birth, and I think it was something else. I can't remember what it was, but
Birth certificate number.
yeah, that's what it was. Okay, then you just get that recorded, and we can do get the lien done. But it has nothing to do with the government of the United States of America wanting your social security. That's
No, this is done strictly one-on-one. If you want to do it, it's fine. We've worked up the paperwork. It's up to you whether you want to use it or not.
Yeah, we're not going to do anything with it. And if you want to black out your SSN, we don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. You can keep your original paperwork if you want, and if you want to record it, you can black out the social security number if that makes you feel better. We don't care. Nobody's using it. And we've never asked for social security numbers. This is a one-on-one thing if you wanted to do it yourself. So you're the first lien holder on it, and then once that happens, then you can grant that status over to the Most High, as if you put your name in the Bible. The Pope got in there and started converting that lien. That's all that would happen, making himself the grantor and the beneficiary. That's when he started serving the devil, and that was in 1962 when he transferred over and started claiming to be infallible. And when he did that, that's when everybody started watching Mel Gibson. Well, Mel Gibson's a devout Catholic. I mean, he has his own church on his own property down in Australia. And he does not go along with what's going on since 1962, when the Pope started claiming infallibility, and he was, supposed to live forever and all that crap. Well, where's Pope John Paul? Where is he? He's dead. So that's all a big lie. And they just didn't get along with the Catholics before 1962. The devout ones, very good people, extremely good people. They're devout. They know, they don't play these games, and they don't play these satanic games and all that kind of crap. It's these satanic forces that got in there and and took over that church. Okay, in that whole country. That's where the problem was. And then they started raping boys and doing all kinds of things that they shouldn't have been doing. And these people are not, the same people that you're dealing with when you're dealing with the LGBTQ crowd. They're not human beings, man. There's something wrong with those people. And we've been watching what they've been doing for the last year. and they're slowly getting to that point where if you don't, we'll look at it this way, because everybody started saying that we were nuts on the LGBTQ. I said, watch this, guys. I said, what's going to happen is within the next year, if you're on a bus or a train or you're in public or something, and some dude walks up to you and wants to date you and all that, and you turn him down, they're going to be calling that a hate crime, and you'll go to jail if you turn them down. Well, lo and behold, that was already happening, because now they're saying that men that don't date trainees are considered transphobic. That's the one, and now they're transphobic. So they're starting that whole process. And eventually, if you don't go down there during the gay pride parade, you're just sitting home watching TV or doing something, they're going to start arresting people for not going in there. Yeah, it's going to be a mandatory parade. You're going to have to go down there and fly that flag and watch this crap going on the streets. People don't believe it, but they've got 10, 11, 12-year-old kids down there doing that, dancing provocatively, all these things in front of these hairy ass men with beards and dresses. So, you know, that's just what it is. And that's all because the Catholic Church turned to satanic forces. They stopped fighting those satanic forces, stopped doing what their purpose is, and it's because they turned. Like I said, the people before 1962, Catholics were some really good people, and Mel Gibson looked like he was going a little crazy there for a while, and really he was just extremely upset over the whole thing that has been happening to his religion. So not good. Anyway, it got us to thinking as to why people want to become independent, or why all these people are, what's the point of these people calling themselves sovereign. Okay, first of all, the people can't be sovereign. That's a whole different show, and it's only an organization with a bunch of people together that can be considered a sovereign entity from other countries. Okay, so that's neither here nor there. We're not going to worry about that. So they want to be independent. They want to be sovereign. Nothing wrong with being independent, an independent person. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with taking care of your own problems, thinking for yourself, studying, learning to read, feeding yourself, all these things that are necessary to survive. No problem. No, nobody has any issues with that. But here's the other part. Why is it that people want to become rich? That's the whole. That was the big revelation that we were thinking about, and what we were talking about is because you want to get away from rude. Nobody likes rude people. Okay, if you're running from oppression, who is causing that oppression? It's a group of people that got together and they decided to go ahead and start oppressing and taking rights from other people. That's what it happened. That's rude, and that's oppression. So basically, what we're noticing is that people are just trying to get away from other people. This is what causes countries to be created. This is what causes societies and secret societies to be created. This is what causes all kinds of organizations to be created. They don't want to be around other people, basically. If you'll notice that rich people don't, they live or whatever. In other words, that they don't go to public beaches. They have enough money to buy their own private beach. And why do they want their private beach? Okay, so rich folks, why do they buy their own planes? Because they don't want to go into first class or second class in a commercial plane. That sucks. There's a lot of people. They want to be alone to get away from people. They go to their own tailors because they don't want to go to Walmart or Kmart or freaking I don't even know if Kmart's still in business, but Target and everything else, and change in a changing room with a bunch of people around. It's just privacy. Is all it is. We spend most of our time trying to get away from other people. Why did we do this, John? It was to get away from people, right?
Yep. To get away from people.
To get
Why?
away from rude people.
Yep.
Okay, you've got. I'll give you an example. They have the Derby every year, and they have the infield and Millionaires Row. Then they have the middle class. Okay, that's in the bleachers. So people go and sit in the chairs there. Then they have Millionaires Row, which is the top where all the millionaires go. And then they have the infield. Well, the infield is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. People puking everywhere, peeing all over the place, getting drunk, barbecuing, and doing all kinds of vile crap. Okay? Nobody wants to be into that unless you're just freaking trash. Okay? You just want to be, it's crazy. Most people want to be on Millionaires Row where it's quiet. If it's cold or raining, you don't get wet. It's quiet. Everybody's having a basic conversation. Hello, how are you? Nobody's puking all over the place. Nobody's getting drunk and doing stupid things. Nobody's grabbing your wife's ass. All this stuff. Okay. I mean, basically, people want to get away from rude people. Now, what happened? We don't have any classes anymore that deals with rudeness. For instance, we have a Zoom call. People will get on there, they'll fart, they'll burp, they don't mute out, they sit there and go to the bathroom while they're on the call. We're hearing the toilet flush. We're hearing them eat. We're hearing them crunching with the chips. That's a big one. And then they go, "Oh, I didn't know I was muted." Well, why didn't you check? I didn't know I wasn't muted. Then check it before you start doing things. Make sure that you are muted. That's called not being rude. But people don't do that anymore. They are rude. So many people spend their time, their whole lives, getting away from rude people. When they go to hotels, they don't go into or they go on a cruise. There's a ship in the world where it's a city cruise. It's actually classified as a city, a floating city. People spend about, I don't know, $1.5 million getting into that ship, and they go from port to port all day. That's what they do. All night they'll go from one port, and then all day they can go in there and see it and everything. But none of them are close to each other. None of the cabins and they actually call apartments now because they brought they have like three or four cabins that they opened up into one large apartment. And I don't know, I think they had about 35 or 40 residents, and it's a cruise ship. Now, why did those residents do that? It's because they wanted to get away from people. It's nasty. See what I mean? People don't like crowds. I have no idea why somebody would go to the Super Bowl with all those crowds when you can see just as much, if not more, sitting on at home on TV. But I think everybody gets the idea, right?
Yep. And if you go to Super Bowl, you're going to see it once. You stay at home, you can see it over and over and over till the next play goes on.
Yeah, you can sit and watch the play about 4 or 5 times. And then you can sit in a place where it's quiet. You don't have people yelling in your ear. It's not cold. It's not hot. You can control it, and and I'm not saying that you have to be rich in order to do this, because there's a lot of people, they'll have about 20 or 30 acres. They'll buy that in a very remote area, and they'll put a house in the middle. Okay, they keep it away from the road. They'll put a house in the middle of those 20 or 30 acres. So you have to drive a long way just to get to the house. That's because they don't like people. You have to understand that. That's why they do that. They don't want people around. They don't want, if their wife is outside in the garden and she just happens to have a bathing suit top on, they don't want the neighbors over there staring at her. Because why? Because that's rude. But people don't have any couth anymore. They don't have any manners anymore. And that is what has happened to the country. It's not that you don't like people. It's the fact that you want to get away from their rudeness. People are simply rude. It's rude to talk about somebody's hair. It's rude to talk about some scar on their face. And there was one friend of mine, I don't know, he had no social skills whatsoever. And I never went out into public with him again. He walks up to this woman and looks at her and he points right at her scar and says, "What happened there on her face?" And I went, "Oh my God. All right." You gotta be kidding me. It's the same with, we have a National Assembly, we have General Postmasters, and we all get along very well. We've sifted through all the rude people, got rid of them, or hey, man, when we sit and talk to them, it's like, hey, mute out if you're going to do that. We don't want to listen to you farting, and we don't want to listen to you slamming your coffee cup on the table. We don't want to listen to all this crap that you're doing. You're inviting us into things that we don't want to see, hear, or be around. So stop doing that. This is a business call. They'll get that about, how many times have we done that to a couple of them? About 50 times.
Some of them just, I don't know, they just don't learn. They just repeatedly do it every time they come on. Like
Right.
trying to, unmuted and trying to murder the keyboard.
Yeah. We've mentioned the Keyboard Foundation. So we're going to start the Save the Keyboard Foundation because they beat the crap out of their keyboards. And they don't mute out. So all you're hearing is, you can't talk. You can't have a meeting like that. So this is what we're talking about. Well, when you go into the city, it's the same thing. People just don't leave each other alone. You're trying to go from work to home or home to work. And all you're really trying to do is just go from home to work. That's it. You don't want to deal with people hitting other people and going around and messing with people and screwing around with them, trying to rob them and all this other kind of jazz. And my suggestion was on the guys that were saying the F Keith. The very first thing I thought of is, why were they spending 2 days doing an F Keith all day? FU Keith, type things. Hate Keith. I guess it was Hate Keith rally. You could have been praying to Yahweh. Why didn't you pray to Yahweh that whole time? Trying to make the world better. Why? Because they're rude. They're very rude people. And that's why they're not here. Because they're rude people. And we spend all of our time, our right of self-determination, all of the study, everything we did for a place to be where there wasn't rude people. That's why we did it. Didn't we, John? Didn't we first start that? When I first came in, I said, you know what? We need a place where we need to go to get away from all this rude.
Yep.
Rude and ignorant.
Yep. And that's when we started adding rooms. So we could go, leave most of them in one room while we went over and had a work session in the other one uninterrupted.
Yeah, uninterrupted work session. Let's get it done. We can get it done in 20 minutes. And when we got rude people on the call, it takes us 4 hours.
Yep.
Because they want to sit and talk with us. So we're not here to have what do you call it? A support group. This isn't a support group, guys. It's a committee. That's what they did. And when we first started this from the beginning, and this was from when we went from the Israel Nation to the United States of America, learning from the Israel Nation and how to do all this stuff, to the United States of America, we did this and started out. So it's like, well, why can't we just go to a place where we don't have to deal with rudeness? And then we were plastered on all over Facebook that we were infighting all the time, and we weren't. It was a recording that was taken out of context. Because how often, John, do we fight? Maybe once every 6 months. That argument will last about 10 minutes, and then we move on.
Depend on what comes up, but most time, like you said, it not very often. And once it's over with, though, it's over with.
Yeah,
We,
and a lot of it's just misunderstanding.
yeah, and we don't hold grudges.
Right. We just move on.
Yep.
And
If
we
you can't, if you
go ahead.
can't move, if you can't move on, you can't progress. Go ahead.
Right. So we have a place where the general postmasters can go, and we don't have these issues. No problems. None whatsoever. We don't have people coming in and attacking. So that's rude. You don't join a website like our NAMP site and then just all of a sudden start attacking people. That's just rude. That's the reason why we did this. And they go, oh, well, they just don't want people. They don't want to be around people. Yeah, we don't want to be around rude people. We're doing our best to get away from you. Get the hint. And then we have some rude people that come in and start fighting, or they start arguing, or they'll do this, and then all of a sudden they get in. I don't know. They get into despair. It's freaking weird. And then from that point forward, it's F Keith, and it's all his fault. It always turns into he's an asshole and he's a dictator. Always turns into that. Well, as long as they're saying it somewhere else, I'm good. Because the only reason why I did this is to get away from people like that. Just like rich people make money so that they have an exclusive place and they have their own privacy and they don't have to deal with rude. That's all it is. No one wants to live in the infield. The middle class in the bleachers is okay, but most people would rather be on Millionaires Row where it's nice, it's quiet, people aren't yelling, you're not listening to the conversation next to you because you don't have somebody going and all this crap, making all this noise. Everybody's nice, it's quiet, you can eat your meal, it's actually brought to you. It's like a restaurant type deal. And when you go to the restroom, you don't have to worry about anybody stealing your seat. You don't have to worry about stealing anything on your table. Why? Because it's rude. Why is theft wrong? It's just rude. When you take something that doesn't belong to you, that's a rude thing to do to somebody. You're causing them distress for no reason whatsoever. You don't want people coming in and breaking things all over the place, or they're drunk and they're fighting with their wife, and they're airing all of their family crap out there in public. That's just rude, and that is low class, and that is trailer trash. And you'll find a lot of people that way. A lot of them, because they don't have these classes. They have to have a class. I can't remember the name of the class, but it's not ethics. It's something. The word is just slipping my mind right now. So that's just that. All right. So if everybody gets that, then you understand why we've done what we've done. We've the first motivation to do that, and found out that the discovery of the reign of the heavens we thought would be the most amazing thing in the world for people to realize. Oh, we got attacked by all kinds of ignorant crap. And why? Because there's ignorant people, and ignorant people are rude. They're just rude people. I mean, no matter what, guys, I don't want to go to Target and I don't want to go to Walmart and sit there and look at some half-dressed people. Put some clothes on, man. Have some dignity. You know, oh, you guys are uppity. No, I'm just don't like rude people. Like blowing snot out of your nose in the middle of the store. You know, pressing one side of your nose and blowing snot on the other. Yeah, that's what I see a lot. So anyway, that's really was what has happened, and I would just hope that instead of doing an F Keith, which I don't care if they do it or not, it doesn't matter as long as they're doing it somewhere else. Just do it somewhere else where I don't see it. I'm good. Why don't you try this, guys? Why don't you try praying? Getting on your hands and knees and praying to your Father in heaven, and try to do something positive for your country instead of all this negative, destructive, rude crap. Have some dignity. Have some respect for yourselves. because you just look like a couple of, a bunch of tools on there on Facebook. And hate is not power. Hate is weakness. It's because you've allowed hate to overcome you because you're too weak to overcome it. You look weak and pathetic when you could be praying, being humble. If you thought I was that evil, why aren't you praying for me? Why? Because you're rude. And I'm not that evil. And I'm not responsible for all your mess that you guys create yourself. All right, we're going to move on. And almost finished here. Just wanted to show you a couple of things. We introduced some new designs. Okay, and for our Continental Dollar, we did this for a very good reason. Let's go ahead and take a look. Here's some of the new designs, and we took off the first president, this picture, and we put in the grafted in seal right here. That's what this means. Okay, this means grafted in. If you look this up, it's on here too. And when you look at it, you will see right here, in Yahweh we trust, in Yahushua we trust on the bottom. Okay, in Yahweh we trust, in Yahushua we trust. That's their name. Now Yahushua translates to Jesus. Okay, so that's their name in Paleo Hebrew. That's how it was originally spelled. These names have been here for a very long time. Now, where did this grafted in symbol come from? It came from here. Did you guys see the switch, John?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You can see this is on the Reign in Heaven Society Temple.
Yeah, that's showing James's church.
Okay. Reign in Heaven Society Temple.international. Let me go ahead and let me see. I get it to where you can hear it. I didn't hit the share sound. All right, here we go.
Was the Star of David then?
It was deep beneath this catacomb that the first Judeo-Christian symbols would be uncovered.
Yeah, we all know that there were not Judeo and Christian at the time. Okay, we all know that. They were called followers of the way in the first church. They were all called followers of the way. The way, the truth, and the life. And this was James, which was Jesus's brother. He started his first church. And this symbol was involved in this. So this is Mosaic and followers of the way combined. Now they're going to call it Judeo-Christian because they don't, they don't understand it. And they don't know the real history. But this symbol was found in his first church. Okay. It was created by James, Jesus' brother.
The menorah intertwined with the fishtail was discovered by a monk here in the 1960s.
Okay, here's the menorah. This was of Moses at that time, and then the fish, and then it brought in the Star of David.
But we do have this symbol today that is a menorah, right? And then there's a Star of David, and then there's a fish. And people want to apply this to the Jewish believers. Now what we do know is that the fish with a triangle tail and an anchor were symbols of the first Jewish believers. Thousands of us, by the way, this is a reminder, the multitudes came to Beatitudes. They came from Syria, Jordan, they came from Jerusalem, Samaria, Judea. The multitudes came. Just within the past 6 months, they find a cave in the middle of Israel, and they find a menorah that's got an exact perfect triangle base. But I find it really another coincidence, coincidence, that when you have the base of the menorah and the tail of the fish, it creates the Star of David. Yeshua, the Mashiach, must come from the line of David, and we attribute this Star of David to David.
I became driven to find out more about these early Christians and the truth of this ancient structure on Mount Zion. So I spent
Like we said, the Christians didn't start out, what was it, 300 BC or AD, John?
It was 369, 369 at the Council of Nicaea.
Okay, yeah, so that's when the Christianity thing. Before that,
Yeah.
they were called followers of the way, the truth and the
Right.
life. They were called followers of the way.
Yep.
So this video is here. It's the first. It was the first church in Jerusalem from James. Okay, and we ended up putting this on our flag, and we're going to be making some jewelry with this and all that, so people can start wearing this symbol. And it basically just means grafted in. It means you were grafted in. Grafted into the Holy Spirit. So that's what that's all about. And we ended up putting it on. We're pretty excited about it. Ended up putting on the money because if what we were looking at was this thing right here, and we all know what this is. Okay, this is Novus Ordo Seclorum. This was dealing with the Egyptian Eye of Horus, and this right here dealt with what's his name, Adam Weishaupt. And we've talked about this on the T-Row show before. And it says the creepy eye on the back of the dollar bill explained. So this you're dealing with secret societies, kind of more satanic deal, because they got rid of the Bible and they got rid of you putting your name in the Bible and all these kinds of things. And they started issuing these birth certificates, so it kind of shows you who they are. And this wasn't put on the back of their dollar bill for till 1935. And they have "In God We Trust." Well, don't know which God they're talking about, because the only one symbolized over here is the Eye of Horus, which would be an Egyptian god. And this could also mean gold, oil, and diamonds. So we don't know exactly what that's all about. So we all decided, why don't we just put "In Yahweh We Trust" and be very specific about it, and "Yahushua We Trust," and it could be translated today, "In God We Trust," and "In Jesus We Trust," for anybody that wants to start using that kind of money. Because if you call yourself a Christian, you go overseas and you start using this money here with this symbol on it, and you say, "Oh, I'm a Christian, I believe in Jesus." And there's a lot of Christians out there. You're actually lying to them by using the Eye of Horus's money. There's no symbols of Christianity on that dollar bill anywhere. A lot of dead presidents, and dealing with an oligarchy. What they call it, a democratic oligarchy, and that means that the people in the same. There's two different types of republics. There's one with the uppercase R, which is a man who was actually an heir to the throne, and he gave up his monarch status and became an elected president. That's the kind of republic that you believe you thought was a republic, where it was coming from the people. Okay, you thought then that other republic it's a republic of, by, and for the people, and that's a republic in all lowercase letters. And that's what you thought you had, and that's not what you had. So that's why every president since George Washington has been related to George Washington. You want to know who the next president's going to be? Just go find an heir in there that is related to George Washington, and you can pretty much zero in on who it's going to be. So basically, you have no choice in what who the president's going to be. So you have your New World Order deal, which is more of a Masonic symbol and more connected to the Illuminati. And this is the official term. He says something, says, first up, Guinea Cochran, who actually works at the Mint, her theory, something to do with the Masons. And I know it goes further back than that. That's said on this. And it goes on and on. She works for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, downtown Washington. Okay, so we just put it here. and we put it on all of the dollar bills, including the $500 one and the $1,000 one. And that would be, we all like Tesla, so we put it on there, and that's it right here. Okay, so if you would rather use this than the other, well, it's your choice. See what you want to do. Okay, we just got one more thing to share with you, and then that'll be it for this show. The 100 and we really do appreciate all the hits, though. We've been averaging anywhere over 1 million visitors per week. We were at 1.2 million yesterday. I haven't checked it again today, so I'll check it again. But we had 1.8 million last week, each week. So thank you very much. We appreciate everybody listening, and I'm glad you enjoy the show. We have one last thing to deal with here, which is a judicial notice for members of the LGBTQ community. Remember, we wanted to make sure that why do people want to be independent? They want to get away from rude people. They don't like people, basically. The Committee of the National Assembly for the Government of the United States of America passed a motion to issue a citation against anyone that has violated any one of the 30 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the amount of 50 million monetary units. A particular article consistently being violated by the LGBTQ community is Article 23. Everyone has the right to work, a free choice of employment, and to just and favorable conditions of work, and to protection against unemployment. Okay, Amazon has had some issues with this particular article, Article 23. You can't, because you don't like what somebody says, it doesn't mean you can get them fired. That's a human rights violation. Just because they don't agree with what you're doing, and you keep advertising it like it's okay, you know, you're going to advertise it, people are going to say something. If you do like doing weird, creepy crap in your own house, that's your business. When it comes out of that front door and goes on the street, that's everybody's business. So just because they say something or they don't agree with you doesn't mean that you can get them fired and all this other kind of crap. That's a human rights violation. And that is going to be enforced from this day forward. We see it, you're going to get it. Not playing around anymore. Okay, this is getting ridiculous, and it is getting rude. One of hundreds of examples of the LGBTQ community of violating Article 23 is the Mario Lopez case, Link, and a clear violation of Article 19. Everyone has the right of freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. So, this overrides, right here, any membership policies, our community standards policies and crap that you guys are putting out there. Everyone has the right of freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others. Either alone, so you can do this by yourself. See how that is right there? Alone. Or in community with others. This is why they want to be alone. Get away from rude people. And in public and private to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. Okay, that does not mean that you're making a religion out of torturing children and drinking their blood. That is not a religion, that is a crime. Having sex with children is a crime. You are screwing that kid up so bad, it's unbelievable what you're doing to them. Girl or boy, doesn't matter. You are messing with their heads. And you're destroying societies. It's disgusting. Everyone has a right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. No one may be compelled to belong to an association. So once you, now, this actually deals with this, because basically what the LGBTQ people, they call themselves, they tried to hijack the rainbow flag, but really they didn't. They removed one of the colors, so it's not a full rainbow. They weren't trespassing on Noah in that covenant. It says the religion of Baal Peor cannot be forced upon anyone, nor can anyone that is not a worshiper of Baal Peor be a subject of the speech restrictions imposed on its own worshipers. Okay, so this means if somebody comes out and says there's only a man and a woman, it doesn't mean that you can destroy their freaking life. You're gonna get slapped with a $50 million fine every time we see this, and we are very effective at making sure that those things are enforced. Very effective at it, and that crap is going to stop. You're destroying people's lives, and that's not going to, and you're not going to destroy societies anymore. If you guys don't want to do the bail Peor crap, go on some island like they did with Epstein. Leave 14-year-olds out of it. People of age of consent, 18-year-old. This wouldn't be happening if Epstein would have been messing around with 18-year-olds. They'd have had a choice. But he couldn't get 18-year-olds to do it because what the crap he was trying to do with them, it was bail Peor. It's because he's a slimy piece of crap, okay? However, and he's also rude. So, the Mario Lopez case carries a violation of multiple articles, which in the amount of 50 million monetary units per article violation and imposed against the LGBTQ flag, if issued, served by publication in this newspaper and convicted. A challenge in the Human Rights Tribunal of the citation will be heard. Now, keep in mind, folks, this is the first Human Rights Tribunal in existence. The one that we started back in 2000, was it 14 or 15? I can't remember. And we have absolute proof of that. What's that?
Yeah, it was 15, I believe it was, Keith.
Okay.
That
was the first Human Rights Tribunal in existence. That out, a year later, there were human rights commissions everywhere. All of a sudden, of the citation will be heard. However, if found guilty, the civil action will result in a lien against the LGBT community flag as a whole unit, because its flag is a trespass against a country, and it is enforcing totalitarian party policies against a people that have no idea that the party exists. Okay? So, folks, what's really going on is you got the LGBTQ folks, and really what they are is a totalitarian party. You say anything about them, and they try to destroy your life and take your work and destroy your business and shut it up and all that other kind of crap. There's a big example of that in Canada, where a guy wanted to get a wax, and the women said no, and he was bragging later on he was shutting down businesses. That's human rights violation against him. Now they're going after him for because of one girl. He had sex with a girl who was 14. Now she's going after his ass, and he deserves it. These people are, I don't know what the hell's the matter with them, but they're rude, and we need to get away from them. So, a copy of a foreign policy stating the meaning of the totalitarian party. This is an actual meaning right here. You can find this in a foreign policy called a U.S. code. It's foreign to us. The term totalitarian party means an organization which advocates the establishment in the United States of a totalitarian dictatorship or totalitarianism. The terms totalitarian dictatorship and totalitarianism mean and refer to systems of government not representative in fact, means they weren't voted in at all, characterized by A, existence of a single political party, organized on a dictatorial basis. There's your lawyers that are upholding, that are trying to protect the LGBTQ community, when in fact they're actually a totalitarian party trying to take over. So close to an identity between such party and its policies and the governmental policies of the country in which it exists, that the party and the government constitute an indistinguishable unit, and the forcible suppression of opposition to such party. Okay, so if you have you speak out about this and put your own opinion about this whole community crap that they put together, because you'll see that friggin' flag everywhere, which they have no right to fly anywhere except for their own houses or whatever. I don't know. Or in their own homes. That's a actual totalitarian party. You say anything about it, they come after you. They try to take your house. They try to take your car. They try to take your business. They try to take your work. And they are all human rights violations, every one of them. and they think they're immune from human rights violations, well, wait till they get their first citation. And yes, we have the citations already written up. All right, further, and if any privately owned court claims that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the rights and duties of man, see, they keep forgetting about that, the rights and duties of man, does not apply, which is, by the way, the rights and duties of man is completely incumbent upon the American Bar Association. And every one of the freaking lawyers will ignore it. Oh, I never heard of that before. You better go look it up because you're subject to it. If you got a bar card. Does not apply to them in their county or municipalities. The judge has publicly declared its gavel, bench, robe, and court a public and private liar. The only human rights violators will deny the existence of human rights. Reference just Kogan's in Hierarchy of Norms of Public International Law. Here's the link. You can look that up and read it. Look up that section, 1.2. It'll show you that the UDHR and the rights and duties of man, you are subject to it. Read it, tattoo it on your butt, because you're going to need to know it.
Yeah, you need to kind of highlight that. Just Kogan's up there too,
Right.
and let them make sure that they look that up and understand what it actually means.
Right. As there's I don't know how many pages in there, but right in that section it goes very indirect. It tells you what's going on directly. All right. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights has been used and enforced for over 50 years and is enforceable under customary international law. All judiciaries have declared independence. We didn't say judicial departments of states. Judiciaries, that is a claim by the lawyers in the American Bar. That term is different from a judicial department or a judicial branch. They call it a judiciary, okay? Have declared independence from any form of legislature and an executive branch of government. You've noticed that everybody's been going to courts left and right to solve these fights when they already have so-called policies in place to fix this. But they're constantly using the courts to settle issues that are already settled. Means you have the courts that are running everything. And therefore directly subject to international law. No one can have it both ways. Any privately owned association caught stealing any more equity, which is what Facebook and all those guys are doing when they deplatform you. You have a lot of equity in there, and you spend a lot of money. There's one organization that spent about 40 grand in advertisement on Facebook. They said something that Facebook didn't like. They ripped their channel. They ripped their friggin' Facebook page or business page, and all their followers gone in a matter of 5 minutes. That's called stealing equity. That's theft. But, they think they're too big to be hit with something like that. And they got to think. Members in the form of claiming violation of the terms of service will receive a citation. The Human Rights Defenders International has been watching many people that have a lot of equity invested in these social sites being ripped away in minutes without any explanation whatsoever in violation of the articles stated above. These arbitrary actions taken by these associations claiming immunity from nefarious acts are sadly mistaken. Yeah, we've seen Facebook's notes. This association, it's a private membership association. It's just a club. That's all it is. But when you're doing nefarious acts like stealing equity for no reason whatsoever, it's not like they're selling blood. It's not like they're selling illicit drugs. They're just saying something. And they have a right to say things on anybody's platform if they want to, especially if you're taking so-called public funds. You can't just rip their freaking equity away. I'll tell you what, this is the best way to deal with this. Fair warning, you might want to restore all the pages that you took off and that you deleted within the next month or so. Go through them all, check them out. If it's over something political, you might want to put them back up, just to let you know. The Human Rights Tribunal does not recognize any additions made nor expanded definition declared by a committee of the United Nations as it pertains to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Why doesn't it recognize that? Because there was no vote by any of the countries to change it. It was done by some freaking stupid committee up at the UN. Basically, a bunch of dudes got together and said, oh, let's expand it here and expand it there. There was no vote. They just did it. It's arbitrary. Nobody agreed to that crap. Nor does any committee of the United Nations have the right to impose any form of additions or expanded definitions and classifications on a people or inhabitants of a particular country, whether registered with the stock exchange or not, without the consent of the country. So you can't go through and just because they're registered with the stock exchange and doing business as a corporation, enforce crap or enforce some community crap on there. There's nothing in there that says you can do that. You're violating your charter. The will of the people shall be the basis of authority of government. This will shall be expressed in periodic and genuine elections, which y'all haven't done at all, by the way. And I haven't seen. And I wanted to bring up one point, John. What point in your time, in the time you've been here, have you ever seen this country where there hasn't been some kind of political fight going on?
In my whole life, I've seen it going on.
Then you're what, 84?
It'll be 85 come November.
85 years. This country has never been at peace.
And how many statutes do they have on the books up there that people don't even know about, let alone voted on?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yep.
It's like, man, you just can't relax. That's just being rude. And we have a government of the United States of America to get away from that. I'm so sick of hearing about it, it's unbelievable. There's either some race crap going on, there's this going on, that going on, drugs, this, it just doesn't stop. It's constant every single day. It never ends. So do us a favor. Y'all keep that crap over there so we can have some peace, okay? Equal suffrage and shall be held by secret vote or by equivalent free voting procedures. Right there. That's number 3. Okay, so if the people haven't authorized it, nothing's been done. It's all just arbitrary. Did the people authorize a private membership association to take over their judicial branch? Nope. Did they authorize the police and the police to be able to assess your threat level? Nope. People didn't know. You're dealing with slaves. You just turn the people into slaves, guys. What's that, John?
Did the people know that even the Sheriff's Department Association is part of the National Association of Sheriffs, is a 503c1?
501c or 503, yeah.
501c3.
Right.
That's a church, nonprofit organization.
Yeah, nobody knows that. Nobody voted for that. Nobody said that was okay.
Yep.
The people did. You were supposed to serve the people, and nobody said start an association. And how much do the people pay for that? Oh, it's nonprofit. Doesn't matter. How much money is funneled through there, right?
Yeah. And by the way, that came straight out of the Sheriff's Association bylines, and it was implemented in one state in 1893. That's how far back this goes.
Yeah. It says you're living in a country where we are constantly looking over our shoulders on a daily basis, constantly looking behind, constantly doing this and constantly doing that. I think a lot of people have what they call PTSD or some kind of paranoia issues because it's constant. We'll give you an example before I get off here. The East-West Germany, when the wall came down, I was in Fulda, Germany, and I used to patrol the East-West German border. That's when the border was up, back in the 80s. Okay, and I went back later and talked to some of the East Germans when the wall was down. I was actually in some of the towers that I used to spy on all the time. And they said, yeah, I said, what was it like in East Germany? Because East Germany was a communist country. They said, well, you couldn't say anything. I said, what do you mean? You couldn't say anything because if you said anything against the government or talked about the government in any way, shape, or form, there was always someone in the bar. You couldn't talk about it in public, there was always somebody in the bar who was a paid informant. They would go to the government the next morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, your ass was sitting in jail if you said anything about it. Right now, if you say anything about LGBTQ, you lose your job. That's where it starts. Pretty soon, it's going to be, if you turn one of them down, that's a hate crime. They're doing it under hate speech and hate crimes. That's totalitarian party. That's called Communist Party. They're communist folks, and they're working their way in through the LGBTQ. That's what they're doing. Totalitarian party is the same as the Communist Party. There's no difference. Where you can't say a word anymore without losing everything. That's what the Nazi Party did. They all did it. There was no Nazi Party. It was the totalitarian party. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Now you know their origins and what they're doing. And basically, on the political side, it's a totalitarian party. On the religious side, it's the satanic party, or the satanic religion. And that's when you're seeing Baal worship, Baal Peor worship. You're seeing Baphomet, the statue of Baphomet everywhere, and all this other crap. That's all satanic. Their religion is Satanism. Their politics is totalitarianism. And it's an ideology that's extremely dangerous. It's twisted, it's messed up, and they're asking you to accept some of the weirdest crap that anybody could get into. I'm talking about weird stuff. Just stuff that makes you sick. It's like, what the hell are you guys thinking, man? How could you think of that as being pleasurable? But, sick people out there. Thanks for listening to the 139th broadcast of the T Row Show. We will see you next week.